6:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Very quickly, your weather. Today, a high of 61 and cloudy. Saturday and Sunday, cloudy. High around 56 to 59. EJ Haust is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. EJ, always great to have you on, and happy Friday to you. I've got so much that I want to talk to you about. Real quickly, though, a couple of reviews that we've been talking about this morning. Adam Schiff has come out. The original video, the entire video, is 9 minutes or so long. And he's got a message for Donald Trump and the Democrats and also the minions, Donald Trump's minions. Listen.
We need to speak out. We need to be courageous. They come after me all the time. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they call me a criminal. They call me a traitor. Their MAGA minions online come after me to try to intimidate me, to create fear. I'll tell you my response. My response to that is screw you and the horse you rode in on.
So I guess what Schiff is basically saying is don't be scared of the Republicans. I don't know if Republicans, as I've said earlier, I don't know if the Republicans, we're not trying to intimidate the Democrats into silence. I want them to keep doing the ridiculous things that they're doing.
Yeah, I find it hilarious that he's talking about Republicans as being minions when we have the most diverse party apparatus we've ever had. Yep. Trump is the first one to tell you that he hasn't always been a Republican, right? And yet we're called the minions. They wear, all the same clothes and, wear pink to the speech the other night, and they all sing together. They all say all the same things in these videos. Everybody saw that video that went viral with like 20 some congressional Democrats saying the exact same thing, and yet somehow they call us minions. That to me just shows you the projection. If ever you want to find out what the Democrats are doing, look at what they're accusing the Republicans of doing.
Yep, age old saying, and that is absolutely true. And it is kind of funny too, because earlier we were talking about this video where you've got AOC and Jasmine Crockett and some of these other folks, and they're spoofing a video game, whatever. But it's like Choose Your Fighter, and it's gone viral because they're doing these boxing poses, like they're going to fight the Republicans and all that. Whole thing though, EJ, is really cringeworthy. I have not seen one person that likes this video. That's number one. And number two, if you follow me on X, you can see not only that video, but also the White House response video. And the White House response video is incredible because they're showing you a lot of really, really strong Americans that work in the White House, Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. and so forth. And so I think the White House response was epic. But, what's your thought on this video as a female?
Well, as a female, it's embarrassing. I don't want anyone of my gender to act so ridiculous, right? But I do think it's funny that they are trying so hard to find something that sticks, and they just can't. It's funny because the most unscripted things now all over, I'm in marketing, right?
Yep.
My day job. Everything in marketing right now is how can we look more spontaneous? Right. So TikTok influencers and Instagram, is looking for collaborations with people who have a lot of followers so that you can get your brand name out there and things like that. And they want it to look really spontaneous. Yet the Democrats are still stuck in this old playbook when it comes to their political games and their desperate attempts to get some sort of following or message or something. Like they just can't wrap their heads around connecting with the American people.
You mean, wait, hold on. You mean, EJ, singing "We Shall Overcome" is not a fresh idea?
It's old and tired. Don't they look so old? Now imagine you're like this new Trump voter. You got caught up in the hype because you went to a Charlie Kirk event on your campus or something like that, right? And you finally decided, you know what, I'm not going to be beholden to this Democrat Party silliness just because they tell me I'm a young person and I should feel that way, right? So you finally go and vote for Trump. You're excited about it. And everything in the last 6.5 weeks has been like win after win after win after win. And you see these Democrats literally shaking their canes in the air, doing things that old hippies were doing, right?
Yep.
So it's just madness. And then they're doing all the same hippie stuff that they did decades ago, but they're also the party of sending people to war. Like, it makes zero sense.
Nothing is consistent.
Like, not Americans like sense. We like common sense. And that's why I think the White House response and literally every cabinet member has leaned in on this common sense theme, and it's working.
So I haven't spoken to you since, I think, last week. So your impressions of Donald Trump's speech to the joint session of Congress, I thought it was incredible. I think that the Democrats, as we've been talking about, they're really doing us as conservatives a favor with their ridiculous paddles, with the messages, so meme-worthy. But I think if you put that aside and you look at Donald Trump's message, it really was a message of unity, and it was a great speech.
Yeah, I mean, it's a message of hope, and who doesn't want hope these days? Who doesn't want a positive outlook for the future, right? Everyone can get on board with that. Everybody can say, all right, we're going to Mars. like let's do this thing, you know? Let's end the wars. Let's have more American jobs. Let's have a better economy here in our country. Let's put our country first for a change. And you know, as far as like the lack of decorum and all these kind of unhinged, profanity-laden rants by, you know, Representative Jasmine Crockett and the rest, you know, their weird paper plate craft projects. Didn't that look like a yes, silly craft project?
Yeah.
But that's all just silly, and it's noise, and it's not resonating, and I thank goodness for that. But, you know, there's a difference between being a victim and playing a victim. And right now the Democrats are playing the victim, but Americans can figure it out. But Democrats and Republicans can sniff out a fake victim, and we don't like it. When you play victim, you're really diminishing the experience of real victims. You know, and that's the same in criminal cases. It's the same in singing this, you know, song from civil rights era. It's silliness, but it has a deeper impact on just the overall feel for your party, and we don't like it. We don't like people who play the victim.
No, and here's the thing, when they're singing "We Shall Overcome," because a black man, Al Green, who is a congressman and a powerful congressman at that, and you've got all of these other black people that are also congresspeople who are singing "We Shall Overcome," a civil rights song. Mm-hmm. The song doesn't match what's happening because you have a bunch of people that clearly have overcome. So right, what's the point? It's not consistent with what's going on.
Listen, there's something that falls really flat when you look at this guy who, you know, has been on a congressional salary for probably 20-something years in Congress. I think he was 2005-ish that he was elected. And, you know, he was a lawyer beforehand, probably had, you know, $1 million or $2 million in the bank. And now the guy is worth tens of millions of dollars. You have overcome, sir.
I think they have, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, it's just silly to suggest that he somehow doesn't have any power and that he is a victim. Again, we can sniff out a fake victim, you know, doing something for show. Everything's a scam. Everything's a show. Dog and pony nonsense. And we're kind of over it. And I love that the internet and X and social media has really given us the ability to see these things for what they are and then share them wildly. It's not just hoping that somebody on CNN will mention it in a good way. Now we can all just see it in real time. And the young people are sharing it everywhere. So the same people who just a few years ago were like that under 30 age group was vastly communist, right? Like they were socialists to the point of almost being communists. Now they're all of a sudden in the Republican Party camp in overwhelming numbers.
Well,
so it just goes to show that a message like ours is something that works. And Al Green, wave your cane in the air. Thank you for your service, sir, but it's time to retire.
Well, and the nice thing is that it's cool to be a Republican. It's cool to be conservative. It's cool to have the values that we have after so many years of being mocked and hated by people on the left. And now, I think that what is going on is a clear shift, fundamental shift in American values. More with EJ Haust is coming up next. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So you have, EJ Haust, just so people know, you have a background in, journalism and talk show hosting and all of these things. And so you are incredibly media savvy, and I love that about you. So I want to remind folks what Nicole Wallace said over at MSNBC regarding this 13-year-old DJ, the little kid, 13 years old. He has cancer, and Donald Trump honored him at his speech earlier. And this is what Nicole Wallace said.
But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
So people are now all across the interwebs demanding that Nicole Wallace lose her job. What do you think?
That's silliness. I think she really tried to, listen to the tone. Oh, I really hope. She was near to tears over this thing. It was an act like everything else, and it fell flat. So I don't care if she's on air or not. Personally, I think having a few people like that, the hypocrites like Jake Tapper, the unhinged left, that show their bias, that actually helps us on our side to expose kind of what's going on in media. And so, fire her, don't fire her. I don't really care. But I don't want to silence the voices that say ridiculous things like that completely, because it helps make our case that we are party of common sense.
Look at the libs of
people you want to align with, because we're normal people.
Yeah, look at how beneficial libs of TikTok has been.
Incredible. All she did was share their own words, right? That's all she does is share their own videos. And it became wildly popular, like one of the most popular accounts on X, I think, in the last 3 years. And so, it's, again, more voices, not less. But I think what's happening because of this kind of X revolution and the ability to search for whatever you want on Grok, right? Like Grok is the Google from 15 years ago. It's given truth a chance, where people can actually go and see their own words, go to the original sources and find out, what they actually mean or what they actually looked like. We don't have to say, oh, well, they sang on the floor and of the house and, did this silly thing. We don't have to wait for the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news or just see one little clip come across our Facebook feed. It's everywhere now. And so we can't avoid it. And the truth is coming out everywhere. And so, and people want that. Look, as Americans, we want that. We want to know what's happening in our world. We want to play a part in it. And I think in the end, this poor CNN lady, the MSNBC people that get fired, and then there'll just be somebody else that comes in right behind them who's just as unhinged and just as Looney Tunes. I mean, look at The View. The fact that they can't get fired, I think the only people watching them are the people like us who mock them. So keep it going.
Yep. Real quick, I've got about 90 seconds left. Headline this morning, Donald Trump picks sides in MAGA power struggle. Elon drops his chainsaw and leaves the federal cuts to the cabinet. Basically what happened is Trump called an emergency cabinet meeting yesterday, and he threw down the gauntlet. He said that Elon's done a great job. Moving forward, it is up to the agency heads like Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth to decide who gets fired and who doesn't. I think this is a smart move for Donald Trump. Any good executive does make adjustments as they go along, and he's got his cabinet in place now, and he is letting the people that work directly with their teams to make the decision as to who comes and who goes.
Yeah, I think too, Elon is probably tired of taking the heat for doing good things. It's starting to affect his business and businesses. He also had a Starship explosion again last night. So, he's got to focus on these other things. It doesn't mean he's going away, and his group is still there to help find the ways. But let's be honest, the oversight committees that have completely failed the American people over the years should have been the people that were doing this work anyway. Right? The Office of Management and Budget, the Office of Personnel Management, every department head should have been doing this from the get-go. Now that DOGE has given the tools to the Trump administration to be able to do it on their own, and you've got people all over the country that are doing this now and finding the information and sharing it with the DOGE people, it's not necessary to have Elon Musk as like this figurehead.
Yep.
He's done what he was there to do, and now he can go run his businesses. And please stop blowing up starships over the Caribbean.
EJ Haust, how can people find you on X?
Yeah, go to at EJ Under the Radar, at EJ Under the Radar on X.
All right, EJ, always great to talk to you. Have a great weekend. 6:52 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.